It's time to take a stand and stop the sexualization of our children. Action for Canada has created a notice of liability to assist you. The title of this NOL is Facilitating in Exposure of Minors to Sexually Explicit Educational Resources, Activities, and/or Events. The United Nations has mandated that all member nations implement the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Resource. CSE is a learning platform that was developed within the context of a program developed by UNESCO. This so-called resource sexualizes children at the earliest ages possible, and it's no surprise that it's causing great harm to our children, as well as attacking the traditional family unit. According to Section 163.1 and Section 152 of the Criminal Code, as well as the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, it's a criminal offence to sexualize and exploit children. Here at Action for Canada, we've been working to expose this evil agenda and to empower parents, grandparents, and concerned citizens to take a courageous stand. In an effort to assist you, we've created a page on our website where you will find an incredible assortment of information on this issue, including the various programs that have been introduced into our schools. Beyond the Basics is the resource used in Nova Scotia, WIN Sex Ed is used in Ontario, CSE is used in Manitoba, and SOGI 123 is used by the rest of the provinces. By introducing these programs into our educational system, our children and youth are being exposed to sexually explicit pornographic materials in the form of books, magazines, and comic strips. Our kids are also encouraged to become members of organizations that promote sexually deviant behavior and the exploitation of minors. Be sure to take advantage of this notice of liability, which will advise teachers, librarians, trustees, ministers, etc., that they will be held personally liable for exposing minors to any form of pornography or sexually explicit material, as well as any activities or organizations promoting sexual deviancy and the exploitation of minors. By using this valuable NOL, you have the ability to demand that the CSE learning resources be immediately and completely removed from libraries and the education system. That all of the books listed, including titles by the same authors, be immediately removed, and that all educational facilities, including libraries, cease and desist promotion of any and all activities, including performers and clubs that exploit our innocent, impressionable, and vulnerable children and youth. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Here are some powerful actions you can take to protect our youth, no matter your age or station in life. Pull your children out of public schools and universities. Run, facilitate, join, or help with a homeschool group. Get involved in writing letters and serving notices of liability. Run for office as a school board trustee, mayor, or city councillor. Connect with an Action for Canada chapter near you. We cannot ignore this message. Our children and youth are being subjected to twisted ideologies using social justice as a means to indoctrinate and groom them, and we must protect them. Thank you for taking a stand to protect kids. If you like what we're doing at Action for Canada, please consider making a donation to support our ongoing work. And be sure to join a chapter near you. God bless you, and God bless Canada. Hello, it's so good to be with you, friends, and welcome as you join us for another informative show. We love having you as a part of our community. Our guest speaker this evening is Dallas Brodie, and the title of tonight's show is Illegal Indian Land Grabs, Backroom Deals. It's November 12th, 2025, and this is the Empower Hour. Action for Canada is a national movement reaching out to millions of Canadians and uniting our voices in opposition to the destructive policies tearing at the fabric of our nation. Through call to action campaigns, we educate, equip, mobilize, and empower citizens to take action. We are committed to protecting faith, family, and freedom. As many of you know, Canada is facing a campaign initiated by the United Nations and certain Native activist groups. The United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or UNDRIP, undermines our Constitution, threatens our democracy, is defrauding taxpayers of hundreds of billions of dollars, and is trampling on the God-given inalienable rights of Canadians. If you have any questions regarding this issue, or if you want to dive deeper into this topic, we invite you to head over to our website. If you go to the menu at the top of the page, you'll see current issues. Scroll down to UNDRIP, UN Global Affairs, and once you land on that page, you'll find an abundance of resources to assist you. And as always, we ask you to share this information and tonight's show with your family, friends, and on social media. If this is your first time joining us on the Empower Hour, I'm so happy to introduce you to Tanya Gaw, the founder and leader of Action for Canada. For over 10 years, Tanya has been raising awareness about critical issues facing our nation, including tonight's topic. For those of you who've been with us for any length of time, you've probably heard Tanya's land acknowledgement. She says, "I thank God and God alone for the ground I'm standing on." Will you all please help me welcome Tanya Gaw. Hello, Tanya.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for that. I love the land acknowledgement. You've done that. I'm going to say it again. I thank God and God alone for the ground that I'm standing on. No forced speech here. This is my choice. And I hope and pray that others will feel the same way and make the same acknowledgement. We are so gifted and blessed by God to live in Canada. But we know that things are going south pretty quickly here. And so it's our turn to step up. We just had Remembrance Day yesterday and honored all of those that had died for our freedoms. They sacrificed their lives to go to war. And we have many veterans in Canada right now. As you may have, I hope that you read the Remembrance Day message that we sent out. And we also brought awareness that those veterans are not being honored by the Canadian government. And they're actually, some of them are being offered to be euthanized. Right? Why bother with health care and health management and a place to stay? And yeah, we're at a critical point in this country, and we really do need to get back to God. And a theme tonight will be that you need to care about who you're electing and where they stand on these critical issues. So I can't wait to have our guests come on. I'm going to share my screen right now and just announce as well that Dallas is a little delayed tonight. She was at an event today. I just want to highlight it of all things. And I invited people to come on my social media if they were anywhere near the Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops to go and attend at 1 o'clock. And it could have been ending up being controversial. I haven't heard from Dallas yet, except that she's rushing back. Oh, I'm just seeing a little message from her again. Jenny, can you resend her the link, please? Okay, so there we go. So she was panicking to get back to the hotel. So she's a bit delayed, but you know what? That's okay because I have some information to cover. I am going to be providing clips of MLA Dallas Brodie in the legislature, and she's a force. But I want you to take note of the temperature in the room when there's a vote, the nays and the yays. And you're going to recognize something. We don't have enough yays going on in our legislatures, and that's going to be painfully evident. And so we got to work harder in the next election. John Rustad, I knew he became head of the BC Conservative Party. He walked over from a dying Liberal Party, and he was a liar. He didn't he campaigned on things that he didn't move forward with, and it's been a wreck. And the only reason that Action for Canada was somewhat involved in that is because we wanted to get good people in, like Dallas Brodie, like Heather Maas, and others. And so they are the ones that are saying the yays right now in the legislature. And that's why we got to work hard at this, and we can do it. Okay, so they were talking. The event was about where are the 215 bodies. Think about that. Thompson River University, Kamloops is so woke. And here, these three courageous people went into the university to talk to our youth and to maybe have some good dialogue with them. Like I say, we'll hear more from Dallas when she comes on. I want to emphasize as we move forward that Canada is a Christian nation. And we have developed this PDF for you. If you go in and do search or even go to our resources under church resources, you'll see it's one of the top links at the top of the page. And we provide the evidence in this PDF of how Canada was definitely founded on Judeo-Christian biblical principles and should be governed as such. And that's very, very important because you have experienced secularism. We're a secular nation. No, no, no. We're a multicultural nation. Oh, no, no, no. We're a post-national state with no core identity, which AKA equals communism, Marxism, socialism, globalism, whatever you want to call it. But it's all of those isms are no good. The only one that's worth having a nation blessed with and governed by is Christian biblical principles. And it truly does give people the freedom, even the freedom to believe or not to believe. But we had way more peace and a better society when we were adhering to biblical principles. I wanted to start with this verse as well from Exodus 34:12. It kind of sets the standard for what we're going to be talking and why biblical standards are so important, because throughout scripture, we see God talking to us and advising us and giving us the best way that we could possibly live, which is by a standard, for instance, the Ten Commandments. In Exodus 34:12 specifically, it says, "Be careful not to make a treaty with the inhabitants of the land you are entering, lest they become a snare in your midst." And our founding fathers, our fathers of Confederation, they were all Christians. And, they came with all of the very best of intentions. They built this nation, 100% they built this nation. The natives, Indians didn't build this nation. And the instructions are for our good. I would love to go back and say, hey, what made you decide to sign that first treaty? Why did you sign treaties when clearly it says in the Word of God that we're not supposed to sign treaties, and it would be for this reason that we're experiencing today, because it's going to cause division, and it's pretty tough. All right, so Hans, he's just amazing. When we say, hey, we have a new project for you, Hans, we need an image that's really going to help people who are very visual have an understanding in less than 1,000 words. Like, what is it? They say a picture is worth 1,000 words of what's going on in British Columbia as they kind of lay the groundwork for the rest of Canada, seeing what they can get away with. And so in this room, we see David Eby there in the middle, and Nikki Sharma, the Attorney General. And then we see Klaus Schwab on the wall saying that we're going to own nothing and be happy. And they're having all these backroom deals. And if you can zoom into the desk, it talks about, the property rights of citizens, right? And you got a big X through it because they don't care. They're pretending, that they had taken into consideration property owners who are being victimized in these current land deals, but they knew full well what they were doing. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. This again, I hope you have joined Action for Canada and get our emails, because in the weekly email that I prepared for Dallas coming on, I wanted to give in 10 minutes or less just something that you can read and review. Let me just see if I've got it right here. So this is the type of thing we do to help educate you in about 10 minutes. But if you can go deeper, then we provide links and information where you can research more, especially if you're like, no, Tanya, this isn't going to be a risk to me. And it's like, oh yeah, you know what? Try this link out, dive in a little bit deeper. We're going to explain to you what's been going going on in the background. Dallas has mentioned the term extinguishment, which we're going to be talking about as well. It will be in one of the clips. You'll hear her use the word extinguishment. And had you read my email that went out, you'd already be familiar with it. And I always say knowledge is power. And you absolutely need to take 10 minutes to read our emails because you'll be smarter than you were 10 minutes ago. I can say that. And we're in a big fight. You need this information. You scroll down the page. I've provided a copy of the map as well, and noted that the Indians make up only 3% of the population, and yet they are claiming 110% of the land. And I said, that's right, that's not a typo, 110%, because their overlapping claims cover the same territory multiple times. They've been infighting since they came to Canada, and they're still infighting today. They never built a nation. They didn't create anything worthy of a civilization. If it wasn't for the Europeans coming in, providing education and healthcare and food, who knows what this country would have looked like. This is the documentary that I'll be playing a clip of. I encourage you to watch that. And the actual documentary will be launched on December 1st, 2025, and I can't wait to see it. This leads you to a page that I've put a lot of work personally into, the Canadian Systemic Racism Ruse, Truth and Revelation, and we provide you all the resources you'll need to engage your elected officials. Maybe there's family members or friends that aren't believing what you're saying about there's no graves, it's like no bodies, no murders. And as I say here, the charade really needs to end. But it's going to be critical that we educate family and friends, because those are the people going, to the ballot. Who are they voting for? And if you're not caring about this issue, if you don't have your facts straight, then you are going to side with those who are victimizing a group of people in order to advance a global agenda. They don't actually care about the Indians. And that is very, very obvious. They were the first ones that they targeted with the deadly COVID jab. We see the state of their reserves. This is not about the Indians at all. This is about the chiefs. It's about our minerals and resources and stealing our land. So I'm going to get into it. This is the first clip that I want to play. This lady's name is Leah Gazin. And as Nina Green had written a fabulous article, if you go to my social media page, you'll see that. She misleads Canadians on her family and Indian residential schools, and she wants to put forward a bill to silence you and I and to jail anybody who denies the lies.
Today I will be reintroducing my bill to recognize residential school denialism as a form of inciting hate. It's been over a decade since the release of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Canada. And since that time, we have seen, since the discovery of unmarked graves, an increase in denialism about what occurred in the residential schools. This is horrific. Particularly because all members of Parliament unanimously supported my motion in 2022 to recognize what happened in residential schools as an act of genocide, the first genocide that was recognized within Canada.
Okay, so, she's just spreading misinformation. Well, why would denialism increase? It's because the graves are empty and they refuse to dig. They refuse to provide information. Millions of dollars, for instance, was given to the Kamloops Chiefs, nothing to show for it. And I know that Dallas will be speaking more about that. So this lady needs to be investigated. All the misinformation spreading online, but this is a poster child for the Liberal government, for CBC News and Global News. This is what the majority of Canadians, this is the only side that they're receiving. And it is, again, self-victimization based on complete lies. So what's the problem with that? One of the examples is Indigenous man avoids prison for killing machine rifle as intergenerational trauma shapes court decision. So the judge basically is letting this guy off scot-free. He had terrible weapons in his vehicle. He has a long record. He's a convicted drug trafficker, and yet he's going to be let off in the streets. And so it's really, really important that we understand. I've on the page that I mentioned that Action for Canada has posted on the racism ruse, they are telling you between 2009 and 2021, the rate of homicide against First Nations, Métis, and Inuit women and girls was 6 times higher than the rate among their non-Indigenous counterparts. 87% of the homicides were done at the hands of Indigenous men. Now we're going to get into a couple of clips of Dallas so that you can catch up to see what this courageous lady has been doing on yours and my behalf, even if you don't live in BC. As I said, this is a template, and it's what's coming
that a bill
countrywide.
entitled the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act. Land acknowledgements are the anthem of a suicidal nation. They're recited in classrooms, boardrooms, and before virtually every public event. They're repeated ritualistically to instill the belief that our country is illegitimate, that Canada has no right to exist, that our ancestors are evil, and our history must be abrogated. They tell our children that we stand on stolen land. This bill will make it unlawful for publicly funded institutions and their employees, such as teachers, to make or to compel others to make land acknowledgements that deny the sovereignty of the Crown over the lands of British Columbia, or that attribute collective guilt based on race, ancestry, or the historical actions of Canadian figures. Our bill expressly protects statements that are historically accurate and includes provisions to guarantee academic freedom. British Columbia has a glorious history. Our British founders entered this land in the 18th century as the untamed wilderness that it was. They built roads, railroads, mines, homes, and established laws. They created a civilization we call home and enjoy today. Our ancestors were not evil. The truth is they did not steal Canada, they built Canada, and we're not ashamed of that. We're proud of their legacy and of our history and culture, a magnanimous and glorious one. We'll no longer shame ourselves in the daily course of public life. Mr. Speaker, the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act declares that this land belongs to all British Columbians without apology and without surrender. We should end all forms of discrimination between citizens based on race or ancestry.
Thank you, Member.
I urge every member of this House to affirm their commitment to the equal rights and equal dignity of every Canadian by supporting this bill.
Member, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay.
Nay.
All right, so I asked you to pay close attention to the yeas and nays in that room. That's a problem. Dallas Brodie and the other MLAs in that room, they need support. Are you lobbying your government? Are you going in and talking to your MLA? Are you providing them the information that Action for Canada is sharing with you? We have a whole page that 100% shows that this is a fraud. And it's part of a global agenda. And if you'll notice in the action that I sent out as well, I also provide evidence that the Vikings, they have actual evidence that the Vikings were here 1,000 years before the natives, who also had immigrated to Canada. We have to remember this, right? 640 tribes, they had never built a nation. Now, this is what Dallas is up against. This is the kind of the bad actors who are out there. And I love the way this video was put together.
For someone like Dallas Brodie, so I support her total removal.
This land belongs to all British Columbians
Whose sole purpose in life is to continue to extol her
commitment to the equal rights and equal dignity of every Canadian.
Racist, white supremacist, ugly rhetoric.
We should end all forms of discrimination between citizens based on race or ancestry.
You know, we have serious issues here with political extremism, white supremacist notions, racism.
This bill will make it unlawful to attribute collective guilt based on race, ancestry, or the historical actions of Canadian figures.
Racist post-colonial society.
They tell our children that we stand on stolen land. Our ancestors were not evil. The truth is they did not steal Canada, they built Canada.
And so as you can see, these bad actors are the ones that are being given a voice and being put on the front line to try to discredit MLA Dallas Brodie. And where is the support? I love to see that her Twitter page is growing, but we need people writing. We need people showing up and talking to the MLAs. And this means in your own province as well, because this is going on in absolutely every community. We got to stop talking about the land acknowledgements. We got to walk out and we got to oppose it. You got to rise up, people. This is not going to go away on its own as long as you are silent. We need more voices in this battle. This chief, Chief Phillip, this is his wife, Joan Phillip. She's a BC NDP MLA, and in the 1960s, she was part of a Red Power, a militant group of Indigenous people that was established in Canada, and she was also part of the Black Panthers and the Palestine Liberation Organization. In 1975, Joan led a delegation of 18 Indigenous people from Western BC to the People's Republic of China before the doors were opened to the West. And here it shows that the Chinese are being reported to buying the land from the natives. Is that what we really want in Canada? We want the Chinese owning this land? And China hits back at Canada. They have been behind calling Canada a genocidal nation. So do you think that China is involved in this? We've heard about David Eby being involved in potentially, reportedly, Chinese funding. And we need to see the receipts on that. We need people being exposed. This is another member of the BC legislature who likes to self-victimize. And so she apparently was traumatized by the land acknowledgements bill and the day that she needed a hug by an NDP leader. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. We're talking about facts and they're not talking about reality. Okay, this was the page. If you go under current issues and down to UNDRIP, you'll see this page, and it has incredible information that I've provided on the hundreds of billions of dollars that are funding this fraud and going into the hands of chiefs. It's a big wealth transfer about the percentage of the Indians who are harming their own people. You can find it under current issues. I'm just going to keep flying along. This is what Canada Post has recently come out with. Truth and Reconciliation. This is the new stamp, official first day cover. And hey, it's not going to stop there. Private Singh here is the cover boy for the veterans for Remembrance Day. I'm sorry, I'm offended by this. Okay, the Indians didn't build this nation. The South Asians didn't build this nation. And if we don't get this under control and start fighting for Canada and our Christian roots, we're done. And I've already spoken previously about the land grab in Cowichan, and the government, people are showing up, and their main question was why they only recently found out that their properties were implicated in this title, when the province, David Eby, knew about it the whole time. And apparently so did the mayor in Richmond, who tried to pretend that he didn't. I'm not quite sold on his argument right now. And of course, mortgages, it's right there in the news. Mortgage brokers sound alarm on Cowichan decisions, which impact the landowners. I'm going to keep moving. Here's one more clip that I want to show you.
You will own nothing and be happy. That is the true mantra of this government. In 2019, the property rights of British Columbians were quietly surrendered with the passage of the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, also known as DRIPA. DRIPA was a Trojan horse. It turned what appeared to be a harmless and well-meaning United Nations aspiration into binding law. What few realized at the time was that DRIPA mandated the voluntary transfer of property and democratic authority from citizens to unelected and unaccountable tribal chiefs. It was under DRIPA that the Attorney General, now the Premier, instructed provincial lawyers in the Cowichan case not to use their strongest legal argument, namely that Aboriginal title had been extinguished. That was a specific written directive. Mr. Speaker, we can defend property rights or we can defend DRIPA, but we cannot do both. This bill, the Property Rights Protection Act, repeals DRIPA in its entirety and restores to the province its exclusive jurisdiction over property and civil rights. This bill declares that the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples has no legal force or effect. This bill directs public officials to defend the property rights of British Columbians to the full extent permitted by law. This bill requires meaningful consultation with property owners before any government decisions can impact their property rights. This bill stands for the simple principle that what you own in British Columbia belongs to you, not to the government and not to its friends. It is upon this solid foundation that we pledge to rebuild this province, beginning with this magnificent bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so there were a few more, much more support. Maybe I don't want to say much more, but there was more support on that one. And I'm just going to stop sharing screen. I wanted to provide the documentary trailer as well, but I just want to bring Dallas on. It's so important to get her on the show. I know she's settled in and ready to go, but I wanted to bring you through this journey. Hi, Dallas, there you are. I wanted to bring our viewers through this journey so they can see what you've been doing on our behalf, Dallas. I call for Dallas for Premier, Dallas for Prime Minister. Like, I mean, you are saying everything that we want and need. So I just want to welcome you to the show. I thank you so much. And I just want to hand it over to you. Tell us and our viewers about your day today.
Okay, well, thank you, Tanya, and thank you to all of you for being here. And that was awfully kind of you to say that. Today, I am up in Kamloops right now. We were just at Thompson Rivers University, and I went with a woman named Frances Widdowson and a man named Jim McMurtry and a group of us, and we all went and we held signs and we started to dispel the lie of the 215 supposed child burials at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. And it was an amazing day. We were initially met with a security guard at the school who immediately issued Frances a trespassing notice, asked her to leave. She said, "I will not leave." We stood beside her and he basically just gave up. We got surrounded by people. There was a very supportive, large group of people who showed up. And then there were the people who were against us. But I have to say, on balance, all in all, it was an amazingly successful event. We had conversations in the same spirit as Charlie Kirk. People were listening. Some people were yelling and getting upset, but we just met them with calm argument and not even argument, just we had discussions. And it was beautiful. And it went on and on. We were there for 3 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. What an amazing update. And I'm so glad that everybody was safe and secure and you were actually able to have some decent conversation, some dialogue with those in the audience.
We were, yes, there were some very hostile people, you know, the obnoxious people who kept yelling to drown people out or playing loud music or banging drums. But really, they were in the minority, I have to say. We had more people sort of listening. There were some people really supportive, and then a lot just around the outside listening and going, wow, well, that's a good point. If they gave $12.1 million to the Kamloops band to dig and they didn't dig, why didn't they dig? And so we planted questions today. And I think a lot of these young people were quite enthralled to hear a different point of view because they really do get met with sort of, you know, the Borg on Star Trek, like they all have to think the same thing. And they heard a new point of view today that they really haven't heard grown-ups say to them.
I just love it. And was the majority all students? Were people from the public able to come and attend as well?
Yes, there it was mostly students, but there were people from the public who came. Some people drove all the way up from North Vancouver just to support us. And
Oh,
so we had people come from a lot of places supporting 1BC and just saying how happy they were, what we're doing, what Tara was there with me too, what we're doing, and wanted to really come and show their support for us. And but the vast majority of the people there were students. And I was pleased with that. And we sort of spread out. Some people were going after Jim McMurtry, some were going after Francis, some were coming at me. But we really had these different pods. Andrea Humphreys was there doing interviews and lots of cameras, lots of people. You
well,
know,
I'm really pleased to hear this. The other reason is because you're addressing our youth, and they have been on the front line of the attack. They're being
it's,
indoctrinated in these petri dishes we call the public education system, and all of the land acknowledgements, all of the
oh,
victimization of this group of people based on false information. And so they've been lied to for so long that we can't blame them for being so misinformed, but having good hearts to want to get behind something. But we've somehow strategically got to shift that and get them on the right side of history, learn history, the proper history, and get things back on track again. So you guys, you and Jim and Professor Francis there, I mean, just powerhouses. So grateful for the work that you're doing.
well, it was, thank you for that. And Frances really is a leader, and she's given, and Jim, and they really know this topic far better than I do even. Like, I've learned so much since we started working on our documentary. And, we had kids saying today, but they threw babies in incinerators
Mm-hmm.
and they
Yeah.
put babies in boiling water. We heard that today. I mean, yeah. And then they say, how can you sleep at night when you know they put them in boiling water? And
Mm.
it's just like, whoa. Like, this is what they're hearing, though.
And these are the lies. And I want to encourage people again to come to Action for Canada's page that I was showing on the Truth and Revelation on the Under It page, because all of this information that you're talking about, we've had Michelle Sterling on numerous times, who is an incredible researcher, just like Frances Widdowson. I mean, these ladies are incredible. Nina Green, and all of that, diving into and providing the evidence regarding these incinerated babies and how it's completely 100% founded on lies. And the person who actually, the mother who actually put a baby in an incinerator, was an Indian, and she had come to the school, and she had her baby. She was traveling, and she was the one. And someone else, I don't know if it was the priest or the janitor, I believe the janitor, who found the baby and cared for it. And the mother was actually charged for this crime.
It's true. But Mark Twain said, a lie makes its way halfway around the world before the truth even gets its boots on. And this is true. And so we're fighting from behind here. But I really believe, I said to Francis today when we were walking back, and by the way, sorry for it's so dark. It's dark here and I'm in the car, but we should go to other universities and do this, because there were enough young people listening on the outskirts, just taking it in, that I thought we're changing minds and we need to get out and do this. And I think we're going to go to other universities. So we're setting up another plan and keep doing this. And it
Well,
was really fun. And Jim McMurtry was just on fire today,
is
just
that
on
right?
fire.
That's good. I've had him on my list. I want to bring him on the show because I see the posts. I mean, he was a history teacher. If anybody knows his stuff about the history of BC, it's Jim. He's absolutely incredible. But let me know what universities you're going to go to, and I wouldn't mind having a team from Action for Canada there to help assist to bring these people back to a platform afterwards that they can actually participate in helping to educate people further as well.
That would be fantastic, Tanya,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I'd
And
love to partner with you.
well, I really feel optimistic. What I saw today was exciting, and we expected to be mobbed and sort of punched and beat up, and nothing like that. There were some very angry people, like confronting people. It was almost like telling someone who's been in a cult that they've been in a cult. They were
Yep.
having these emotional, extremely volatile reactions to certain things, but it sort of started to calm down after a while. And there were some older people going around and whipping them up, whipping them up. I could see the people who stir it up.
Older people were doing that. Were
Yep.
they native people
No,
or
there were some older white ladies. I can say that because I'm an older white lady, and I was thinking, well, what are you doing? I asked one lady, what's your name? She goes, I'm not telling you. She goes, what's your name? I said, my name's Dallas Brodie. And I said, so what's your name? I'm not telling you. Silly stuff, right? Like
It
that.
is. Well, I've noticed down in the States as well, for the majority, I would say, the generation, whatever, the generation 50s up are sort of on the front line of trying to fight for our countries. But then there is that other category. I was noticing it in the United States where they want to, they're out against ICE. They're for the no kings.
I
They
know.
back BLM. And it's just an odd phenomenon right now of how deceived these people are. And it's not helpful. So there is a full spectrum of age range that we need to educate, and we're all working very closely together to do that. So if we could shift to what's happening in the legislature, when I see you take these amazing bills to remove land acknowledgements and a property rights bill. Now, am I mistaken when I heard the actual vote that you did have more support for your property rights bill?
Okay, the property rights bill, I couldn't believe it. The entire Conservative caucus supported us,
Oh,
the whole
wow.
group, even Warbus. I guess she was
Really?
whipped. I guess she was whipped. And she was said, this time you better vote in favor of this because the Conservative Party knows that it is losing traction over this issue. They have not been out in
No.
front on this at all. I call them leading from behind. They watch what we do. And then they do, they try and copy us. Now, the other one on prohibiting the land acknowledgements, only 5 people, but at least Tara, Jordan Keeley, and I voted for that, plus 2 conservatives, Harman Bangu and Heather Moss.
Heather, yeah.
And when those 2 voted with us on that, there was the NDP all went, oh, like it was this mass inhalation of breath, and they were shocked. And I have to tell you one more, like inside baseball, about what happened there. When I introduced the Land Acknowledgement Prohibition Act, I called division, which means everybody has to come up and vote in person. And you get 10 minutes to come up and get into the chamber, and then the doors are locked. So during that 10 minutes, after I'd introduced the bill, the NDP, this is not a joke, there were groups of people in group hugs, crying, rubbing each other's backs, wailing, slumping over their desks. I was looking at this going, what is going on over there? I mean, you'd think that all of their relatives had just been killed in a plane crash. It was just, it was like crazy.
These people have been so deceived. Even Warbus, I see her now in the Conservative Party,
Yeah.
and she is really on the bandwagon about pushing this narrative, even though we've come out with all of the evidence to counter it. And John Rustad as well. I wasn't surprised when he didn't hold true to his word. I was more interested in supporting all of you, to get as many of our people in there as possible. But his turnaround, because it was supposed to be this champion of overturning DRIPA and UNDRIP, and he's taken a full swing turn on that. And of course, you lost your position in the party. You were ousted because of a social media post speaking the truth, saying, where are the bodies? The graves are empty.
I know, and I've come to see it as a blessing in disguise, really, because now what Tara and I, and actually, by the way, Tara and I didn't really know each other that well. She left the party at the same time, and so did Jordan, because we could see the writing on the wall. I got expelled, yes, but it was already in a ruinous mess, and it still is. But since we've left, what we've achieved is just nothing short of incredible. And I have to give so much credit to Tim Thielman, who is our chief of staff. He is an absolute machine. This man, he's got such a direction and ability to draft these bills. And these bills are incredible. We're introducing 2 a week now. And the beauty of it is we get 2 minutes to introduce each bill, and it's driving the other side crazy. It's driving them nuts, because question period, we now get a question every day, but we also get these, and it's actually just been wonderful. So, the Lord works in mysterious ways, Tanya.
The one thing that I was looking at, I know the Bible also says, be thankful in all things. And
Yes.
yes, that means for hardships as well, because
Yes.
I remember going through like 20 years of really difficult times, like death and loss and different things that were transpiring. And I remembered that verse, and barely I'd be hanging on and thinking, okay, I'm going to be thankful. But that 20 years shaped me into the person that I am today. I used to be very soft, very shy, and I could never do the work I'm doing had I not been through difficult times. But the other thing that difficult times brings is a reset. And we need a reset in this country because, as I said in the interlude, coming to, bringing you on, was that the Bible was very clear not to sign treaties.
I saw
And
that.
I believe that it's causing a great amount of damage. And God cares about Canada. And he cares about the fact that we've turned our back on him. We don't have prayer in the schools, and we've removed God from government, and, abortion is free. And so everything evil just starts to accelerate once those first doors are open. And now we're all praying across this nation for God to work a miracle. It's like, well, that's going to involve taking care of a bit of business here. And we need to remove these treaties. We need to be honoring God and his authority, and not all of this chaos and confusion that's currently going on in government.
It's true, and we need to actually say to the Indigenous people, you're killing this province with these. What's happening to is our economy. People say, why do you focus on this so much? Why? Because this file is touching on every other file in the province. The Indigenous consultations, and then combined with the environmental consultations, which are being funded by these vast machines out of the United States, which, by the way, we're aware are teaming up with the Indigenous. It's all a big plan to shut down BC and landlock Alberta and all of these things. So, but we cannot proceed with any of our primary industries, which is how our province was built in the first place.
Exactly.
Mining, forestry, fisheries, canneries, canneries, remember? Lots of manufacturing. We can't get it. I make this point a lot. In Chile, from permit application to starting the mine, it's about 2 years. Here it's 12 to 15. And sometimes you can get to the 13th year and find out that it's been canceled because the band changes its mind, or a new hereditary chief comes in, or they introduce some new environmental nut bar thing where, like, of course, anything we do is going to move some rocks and cut down some trees, but we have a landmass that larger than California, Oregon, and Washington put together, and we should be in abundance here. And we keep being told there's scarcity of water. Imagine that, telling us we're scarce in water in British Columbia. Like, how did that ever come to be? We've got more water. We're drenching in it constantly, but this is the tricks they're playing on us to make us feel scarcity, not enough energy. The latest bill introduced by the NDP is terrifying. It's Bill 31. They're talking about allocating hydropower. Okay, gee, what could go wrong here? They say we've got scarcity, so we're going to allocate. And apparently they're going to allocate it to businesses they like better. And I'm saying, why not, instead of allocating scarcity, why not build abundance? We could build more dams. Why can't we be like W.A.C. Bennett and build this province? We should be, firing on all cylinders. And I really think we can get back there, but it's going to take some real muscle power and energy, and everybody speaking up. And it starts with saying, we're done with these land acknowledgements. We're done.
Yeah.
You keep doing that, I'm leaving the event. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and for our kids, parents, stand up for your kids. They're being faced with
Yes.
this at school on a regular basis. And,
Yes.
UNDRIP is not legal. I know you had made a term that it was legally binding, but it's not. They wave their magic wand and they say, thus it is so. That's basically what they've done. And I know that I was reading an article, and it was talking about is drip of, it says vacuous political bromide. And what they're basically saying is that even in this article that I was reading today, it talked about how several First Nations were challenging the British Columbia province for current mineral tenure system, which allows them to register a mineral claim over any unclaimed provincial crown land. And so basically what it came down to is that the courts were saying, no, this can't happen. and it actually violates. And so they're wanting laws to be created for themselves. And when it went to court, it's like, but the province can't create separate laws for you. And if people really understood, if we could get away from the activist courts, who these judges are making these horrible decisions, we could overturn this quite easily.
Yes.
Because it's all a facade.
Yes. And 1BC is saying that what we will do initially, like our policy on this, is that immediately we stop all voluntary funding of Indigenous things, all voluntary payments stop, all voluntary land transfers stop. We immediately repeal DRIPA. We declare UNDRIP of no force and effect in British Columbia.
Absolutely.
We demand a constitutional reform that gets rid of Section 35. That's a tougher project, but we can do it. Section 35 of the Constitution Act of 1982. And finally, we ask for repeal of the Indian Act, which is the act that is keeping so many Indigenous people in poverty and in these just crummy lives. And you know what we've created is a bunch of communist ethno-states that are keeping these people stuck. They don't even own their own property. Why would they fix it up? And they can't live a normal life. And the chiefs know, though, that the base of their power is that communal ownership, and it's got to stop. It's holding back all of this population. You know, their lifespan has dropped by 6 years since the NDP came in, and the dire situation that Indigenous people are in. Here they are worried about 250 non-bodies from all this time ago, when all these deaths of Indigenous kids from fentanyl overdose happening right in front of us.
Yeah.
Like this is a death in real time right now taking place, and all we talk about is the residential schools. It's crazy stuff.
Well, and David Eby is facilitating that. The NDP is facilitating this fentanyl crisis.
Yes.
And they're full on. They know exactly what's going on. John Horgan before them. And you're absolutely right. It's in the thousands and thousands of people, children, young kids who have died because of the fentanyl crisis. And I want to ask you one thing too, and I don't know if you've thought of this. I always refer to them as Indians, and it was like politically incorrect to do that, but it was more than that. It was that they wanted us to use the term Indigenous to psychologically say, or they're Indigenous to the land. Then they said First Nations. Well, they weren't first, and they didn't build a nation. And so the only ones recognized are in the Indian Act is Indian and Aboriginal. And so I just want our viewers to think about what terms are we using that the government has led us through over these last decades, specifically and strategically, to help them move this system along. And the land acknowledgements, like you say, were a huge part of that. But the military warfare against, our minds and our thinking and our ability to think critically has been a major part of this attack against our democracy.
Well, and I believe it is an attack against our democracy, and it's being done from on high, and it's purposeful. It's not haphazard. The dark underbelly to quote unquote reconciliation are two terms: decolonization and indigenization. And you will see it happening all around you. You'll see suddenly a street sign has changed a name, or a city. Now the tourist map for BC tourism shows names in a different language. This is all happening. You say, well, what's going on here? Who changed this? And why are we saying this? And why is this street sign changed? This is all part of the plan. And the whole land acknowledgement thing. I remember when I first heard my first one, I said, oh, here we go. This is grooming. This is grooming us into accepting our own surrender and our own demise. This is going to be bad. And this was at the very beginning. The first time I heard it, I was like, this is not good. And now it's on every email signature. So I say to people, if it's on yours and some company you're working for has put it on there, take it off. Mm-hmm. And don't do it. Take it off. There's no law that you have to do it. All these big corporations are just doing it because they're all getting money from the government, and they're all just currying favor with the powers that be. And it's super negative. And use your agency and remove it from your email. And
political pandering at its worst, and people do gooderies that think they're doing an honorable or good thing here, and it's like, are you kidding me? You're helping to wrap the noose around our neck, and every time you send an email with that on it, you're tightening the noose.
Yes.
And people need to be courageous, and I really want to challenge business owners in BC
Yeah.
to start help funding Action for Canada, start help funding One BC, because we need money. Action for Canada, I can't go into details of what we're doing in the background on this particular issue, but just know that we're spending months, a lot of time trying to strategize to overturn this. And I want to ask you something. We talked about extinguishment. Explain that to our viewers. And I
Okay.
want to ask, is there anything that we can do at this point? Because David Eby said it once upon a time, with the help of the federal Wilson Raybould.
Jody
Jody
raised,
Wilson
yes.
Raybould. Okay. So
Okay, so what they did at the time was they instructed all of the lawyers who worked for the government. So the lawyer has government who work on staff for them, and so as opposed to in private firms or anybody who's actually doing work for the government, the directive from the federal attorney general, who was Wilson Raybould at the time, and David Eby, who was then attorney general of BC, was that they were no longer to ever argue what's called the extinguishment argument in land claims cases, which is, well, you might as well not even argue the case, because that was the strongest argument in all of these cases. Because what extinguishment was, is that when the Torrens system was set up in Canada and created fee simple land holdings, which is, many of us may own lands, or for those who don't, it's the highest level of ownership. It's the best ticket you can have. Like, that's the best piece of ownership. It gives you exclusive and private possession of your land. Once they set up that system, they said any properties covered by the fee simple designation, those areas are extinguished from Aboriginal title claims are extinguished from that. So think what they did.
yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah.
And they didn't argue it in the Cowichan case, which has now laid claims to these homes in Richmond. And the other thing is that the city of Richmond did argue extinguishment, but they still lost. And the judge has definitely declared there's really nothing left of your fee simple title at this point. And the lawyer for the Cowichan tribe is on record as saying, well, it's true. If you want to sell your house now in Richmond, you'll have to get approval from the Cowichan band. Think about that.
Yeah, and it's just insane. I've had David Lindsay from Clear on my show numerous times talking about the founding documents, the coronation oath, how Canada is a Christian nation. I'm hoping to educate a few more people right now. This UNDRIP and DRIPA is 100% illegal and in violation of our founding documents. The Indians, even when Queen Elizabeth signed on to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, she was not permitted to do it if it was going to interfere with our biblical standards, because the coronation involves taking an oath where the monarch swears an oath to govern the monarch based on Protestant biblical principles. And King Charles, he didn't want to take that oath after his mother passed, but was it a year and a half or 2.5 years ago now? He did take that oath. He has sworn an oath that the monarch would be governed by. So Canada must be governed. And a lot of people, would like to try to say that the oath is just like symbolic, but it's not. It is a living, breathing document. And we have to resurrect this. We have to get it on the front line and into cases. We have to be arguing this in the legislature. And then finally, when people take a look at the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, even, it says Canada is found in the preamble. Canada is founded upon the supremacy of God. And yes, that's the God of the Bible. A couple of radical judges have refused to acknowledge that. The supremacy of God and the rule of law. And of course, our Magna Carta was formed based on biblical principles, but it has a colon, which means anything that comes after that must apply to the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So as far as, the rights of any of the Indians, as long as it complies with the structure of this Christian nation. You know, the Europeans could have come in and wiped them right out, like the
Correct.
Muslims have done in 56 Islamic
Correct.
majority countries and are continuing to do today as they try to conquer nation after nation.
Correct.
And nobody is turning to them and say, you know what, you need to give the land back to the Christians. So people, viewers, you need to ask yourself why. And the reason is because the countries they're coming after are Christian nations under
Yes.
the monarch.
Yes.
Because you cannot govern, tyrants cannot govern where Christianity is thriving.
That's
because
true.
it is the foundation for our democracy.
And I want to just, I don't know how much more time I have, but there are three important things. The key things about UNDRIP are these. There are three critical things in it that are so dangerous. The first one is that it demands all land back. Okay, not some land or a bit of all land back to Indigenous peoples, which they define as being not us, even as we're born here. You know what I mean? All land back. The second one is a veto over all activities on all the lands and indefinite funding by the rest of us of that, of all of this. So land back, vetoes, and indefinite funding. That's all in UNDRIP. Those are the three massive pieces of that. And I've been lectured on that by Tim over and over again, who's a former Aboriginal lawyer. And he's like, make sure you tell people what it means. UNDRIP needs to go, get the hell out of Canada, go away. And DRIP has got to get the hell out of BC. Pardon my language, but this is a disaster for our province, you guys. I've learned so much since I entered that legislature, and I knew this file was an issue, but I had no idea the lengths that it's gone to. It is way off the rails. And every third word in that legislature is First Nations, Indigenous, First Nation. It's shocking.
Yeah, and this is why we don't want to use their language, and we want to turn this around and
Hi, Dallas. Hi. We just had a Zoom crash, and we're just coming back online, so just bear with us. Okay, one moment. Okay, are you there, Tanya? You're muted. Tanya, are you there? You're muted. One second. Here we go.
okay, fantastic.
All right, we're just bringing everybody back
Just
in.
looking for
Sorry, Tanya, just
Terenzio.
give me 2 seconds. We're just going to get everything synced back up. We just had an entire Zoom
Okay.
crash, so we'll get right back going. 1 second.
No sound. Welcome back, everyone.
Okay, we're just getting
you are.
things back. 1 moment.
Okay. Okay. We'll be back in a moment.
Okay. And we are back. That was a complete Zoom crash, so now we're back.
Yeah, I think somebody has a problem with our conversation. I would say that's never happened before. Anyways, Yeah, so Dallas, we'll finish off where we are. Do you have volume there?
Yep.
Yeah,
Am
okay.
okay. So I just wanted to say that, you know, we need this all restored, not just for, like, first of all, they talk about it all the time in the ledge. First Nations, we care about the Indigenous people too, but there are 96% of other people who are having problems. There's a lot of problems out there. There are all sorts of people suffering right now. And we can't just focus on this all the time. And if we can bring back the economy of BC, it's good for everybody. And we really do need a huge course correction. And we're working on that, and hopefully we'll catch on steam. And I think people like the fact that we don't BS around. Like, we say what we mean, and we don't use weasel words or slick political language. We're honest people, and we've already made a commitment. We will never lie, and if we do make a mistake, we will admit it quickly and move on, but we will never try and cover anything up. And we'll just be honest and tell you the state of affairs. And so if you want the truth, Tara and I are speaking it all the time, and we're working on getting some other people to join us. We're rolling out candidates. And if any of you out there have some interest or know someone who you think might be a good candidate, please get in touch with us. There's something on our website. One of the buttons is about, would you like to be a candidate? We want strong, principled, mostly courage and principle are what are is important. And of course, conservative values. We don't need any NDPers, please. We got enough of those. But so.
Yeah, you need, like you say, strong, principled, courageous
Yes.
people, and you have to be ready for that. And what you really need to do if you're going to step out on the front line like this is you need to come to a point that you don't care about what people say about you. You always consider the source of who it is. And Dallas, I love what you said. You know, the Indians make up 3% of Canadian population. And 97% of the rest of us aren't, the majority of us are not agreeing with this. So how they think they could never even commence this battle had they not had the funding and backing from the United Nations and the globalists. And so we got to keep this in perspective. And God is on our side. I really do believe that with strong, courageous people like yourself as well in the legislature and in Parliament, and that we can turn this around. But we do need more people stepping up and helping.
Yes. And I will say that, remember, the personal attacks are to be expected because Margaret Thatcher had a saying which always helps me. She said, I am immeasurably happy when I receive a particularly hurtful personal attack, because I know at that point they have not one political argument left. And they can't beat us on the arguments, you guys. They can't. So they're going to call us names. They call me everything. I mean, I've been called a mouth breather, a caveman. Like, it just goes on. And now it doesn't even bug me anymore. At first, I was really pretty rocked by it all, but now I'm like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, you consider the source, like Chief Phillips. I had to play those clips because I wanted people to have the balance of what you were doing with integrity in the legislature and then what these chiefs are doing. You know, years ago, I got attacked by Chief Kenny Watts from Port Alberni, and just useless comments that he was making. I couldn't take him seriously, and because they've got a lot to lose. They've been spending decades building these backroom deals.
Oh, yeah.
They're making, you know, millions of dollars. Somebody had posted about Chief, I hope I can find it. Oh no, we've lost the feed. Anyways, they were talking about Chief Phillips, how he was in the Okanagan, Penticton or something, and he had accepted $68 million. This is Canadian taxpayer money.
Yes.
Too. This isn't monopoly money.
No.
And they were supposed to be taking care of a refuge or dump, and it was never cleaned up even after he left. So people are asking, where's the money?
Yeah. Where's the money?
We're so far in debt that the Indians, what do they think? Do they really think Canadians are going to keep handing their tax dollars over to all of this? It's
the 12.1 million for the digging up the supposed 215 children has all been spent. And I'm calling for, if you didn't, it was earmarked for digging, not one shovel was purchased.
Yep.
And not one dig was done. And so my position is refund the money with interest then, please.
Yeah. or get charged with extortion because they're extorting money from the Canadian people. Even when I'm listening to Leah Gazin, this is extortion. You're
Yes.
using manipulation, victimization. And anytime the government is victimizing anybody, you got to say, what are they up to? Because they're doing the same to our kids regarding the LGBTQ. We have the saddest lot of kids that are involved in the LGBTQ who are depressed and on drugs and walking around in life without real purpose and direction. And our government has done that to them.
Yes. And we need to be the grown-ups now and realize that we've had a good long run. I was born in the 60s and we really let these lefties sneak in everywhere. And we now have to defend our kids. It's up to us because the kids can't fight this, you guys. They're just dealing with it day to day, trying to get through school. And so we can do this. And Tanya, you've been a leader to me for so long. And you saw me through the mandates, boy. I was so scared back then. I couldn't believe what I was seeing happening to our country. It is terrifying what has gone on in the last 8 years. I don't even recognize this country, but thanks to people like you gave me the courage to do what I'm doing now, Tanya. Seriously, like you are a leader and you're way out in front, our Joan of Arc, but thank you for doing this. And someone asked a question here that our party is called 1BC.
Yes.
And it's numeral 1BC.ca. And there's a button on there somewhere about candidates. And if you can't find it, just send an email in and join the party. It's not too expensive and you get newsletters about what we're doing. And I'm going to have to jump off here now, Tanya, because I'm
absolutely.
My group is in there and I'm hungry.
Yeah, no, we so appreciate. I know you've had an incredibly busy day. I thank you so much for all that you're doing, for coming on the show. Again, I really want to promote 1BC and the work that you're doing. Please follow Dallas on her X account as well to stay completely up to date. Watch her clips, watch what she's doing in the legislature, share our information with others so that we can spread the word. Sign now. Can they still sign your petition, Dallas? Is that still active?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And I like what you just said, Tanya. I call it be a force multiplier. Push this out to 5 people. Push it just because we can all do something. We can all do even just a little bit. It doesn't have to be grandiose gestures, just even sending it to 2 people. It's called being a force multiplier, and that's how we're going to win. And we can do this. And I know we're on the right side.
Amen to that. All right, sister. Thank you so much. Say, give a shout out to Jim and Francis as well. You guys are superheroes out there in Kamloops. Thank you for the work that you're doing. God bless you. And I look forward to having you on the show again.
God bless you too, my sister. Okay. And thank you everyone on this show. Bye-bye, Action for Canada people. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I just love this lady. It is just so amazing. And then to hear as well, when I first met Dallas within this last year and heard that she had been following Action for Canada sometimes, as she just gave testimony to, and it's just proof that courage is contagious. And when you have it, you just gotta be courageous, and because people are looking for this, right? They're a little bit, thinking, no, you do it, and you're like, no, you do it, or I'm too afraid. And I went through that season of that. I didn't want to start Action for Canada; it seemed all too big for me. But God has equipped me. What He calls you to, He will equip you for, and I'm living evidence and proof of that. And it goes with share the information. I had 12 people on my email list over 10 years ago, thinking, all right, I'm going to write my first letter and send it, and then thinking about how will these 12 friends on my email list, what will they think about what I'm, the content that I'm sending them. But from there, it went to 50 people, into 500 people, into more. And, you may change who your friends are, but you're reaching out, and every little seed that you plant in the hearts and minds of cousins, of friends, of coworkers, it just can grow. You'll never know the time because somebody else will come along and water that seed. And the same goes for our elected officials. We have MLAs and MPPs that have been brainwashed or lobbied by only one side of this issue. And it's very, very evident that it's come from the side with global money. And they're the ones that are having the contact, and they're being misinformed. And we need to base the decisions that go on the legislature on science and facts. And that's not happening, but it is a growing movement. Action for Canada, our team is lobbying government across the nation, but we need way more chapter leaders because elections come once every 4 years. but we are building communities within communities during that time and helping to raise up individuals to run for office as well, so that, hey, you know what, when they're actually an election is called, they have door knockers, they have people to support them and go out and help them. We have to build these communities. This is a huge country, and this is the way to do it. Action for Canada is the only one that has this plan and is moving forward and taking on as many issues as we are, and we're being effective. All right, so the verses for tonight, I think that these are timely. And so Exodus 20:15 says, "Thou shalt not steal." Yeah, you're right. So our land, this is theft. This is our land is being stolen. There is no other way to look about that now, to look at it. Now, remember when I started the show, I started with a Bible verse, and it was like, when you go into a country, don't sign treaties with them. And so that was biblical scripture. And just prior to that, I was talking about how we were a Christian nation. We are a Christian nation, regardless of what all of the globalists want to say, and the governments that are anti-God and really attacking the foundation of this nation. They know it too. They know God exists, and they know that is the only thing, that God is the only one that's holding them back from completely having victory and taking Canada down with the rest of the nations like Venezuela. And we're not going to allow that to happen. But like I say, it comes a time you need to pick a side. And if you don't like secularism, because it wasn't good, it's what opened the door to all of this. And if you don't like multiculturalism and post-national state isms with all the communism, Marxism, and all the rest of it, then there is only one way to decide here in my books. And I'm again providing you that God has our very best in mind with scripture. And it says, "Thou shalt not steal." That's pretty good. I think we can all agree with that. Now, the next scripture, just to back this up, is again, God says from Leviticus, "You must not steal. You must not lie or deceive one another." So what is David Eby doing right now, and Nikki Sharma and Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney? They're lying and deceiving. And we got to put a stop to this. But if we had cared about who we were electing into office, all of these individuals would be taking an oath on the Bible and adhering to that happily, not by force, but they'd say these are really good principles and values by which to live by. The next Bible verse, I got a couple of tonight, is Exodus 20:17. "You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's." What are the Indians doing? They're coveting what we have, and they've stolen a lot from Canadians, hardworking Canadians, where hundreds of billions of dollars, I would actually say it's coming close to $1 trillion, has been paid in reparations and in agreements. And there's so much more going on. If we were to actually see the number, we'd probably be shocked. And finally, in closing, a word of hope. I love Psalms. If you just want to start a book in the Bible, start with Psalms. It's just filled with so much encouragement. It says, Psalm 55:22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved." And when I was seeing that, I'm thinking about all of this. Are we going to move? Like, is our land? And it comes, the righteous will not be moved. It would be when trials and times come that are challenging for us, that we will stay steadfast with our feet firmly planted. But I want to look at it as a promise right now that we will not be moved from our homes, from our property, from our land. And on that, we really do, I really do appeal to you to please ask that you would become monthly supporters of Action for Canada. There is so much. I mean, if you're following us regularly, you know that we're getting those books out of those nasty pornographic books out of the Alberta schools. You know that we got Soji 123 stopped in Saskatchewan. You know that we've overturned one of the biggest 15-minute city plans in Winnipeg and another one in Ontario. We're working hard for Canadians. We've got legal action against the BC and federal government in response to the tyrannical, illegal COVID measures. And we're one of the only cases still moving forward in the court. Although they're dragging their heels, they don't want to face Rocco in the courts. It's still moving forward. I've got the case moving forward where the drag queen is suing me for calling this individual out, who happens to be working as a teacher's assistant, making murder videos on the side where he's eating people, cannibalism. It's just not right, right? But we've got this battle and we're fighting, and we're doing that on behalf of you, and we're doing a lot on this particular issue that we've spoken about tonight. And our team is volunteering the majority of their time. And I don't know anybody else who has a team like Action for Canada, but we're willing to do this because we know and believe we are full on at war in this country with our own government and with globalists that want to come in and take over. And so please consider becoming a monthly supporter and continuing. Thank you to all of you who do donate generously to us and keep us going. We really appreciate it. And so God is really amplifying the work that we're doing. And we're very grateful for that. All right. I can't wait till next week. Guess who I'm having on? All right. This is big. This is big. I'm having Congressman Randy Fine. He is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about the No Sharia Act, that a bill that he has put forward in the United States with the backing of senators and other congressmen. I'm very excited about this because they're taking incredible steps down in the United States to address Islam. And finally, people are actually saying Islam is the problem, not political Islam, not radical Islam, but Islam. What they are following is like a death cult. It is not a religion. They are this facade because they want to manipulate our Constitution and the protections that we give. And so they're pretending to be a religion, but they're really not. And you're saying, but yes, they are, Tanya. The Muslims, they read a Quran, they've got a word, and it's like, and they got a God. It's like, no. There's no such thing as these false religions, but there are false gods. And who do you think the creator of those are? Right? The devil himself. So why have we opened the door to all these false gods, Sikhs, Buddhists, Hindus? What are they doing for our country? Do you see what's happening to our nation as we've opened the door and allowed them to set up their failed system of governance and belief systems here in Canada? It's destroying the nation. And it's all part of the plan. So we got to turn it around. And so Congressman Fine is going to come on and he's going to show us what they're doing down in the United States. And as well, just to add to that, I've reported on before, but Ted Cruz some time ago has also retabled the bill to designate the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. And that is moving forward. Marco Rubio has approved it, and there's growing support because America is in trouble, just like Canada. We need to shut down all manifestations of Islam in our country. I'll get an amen to that. Okay, well, thank you. I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
In times of financial uncertainty, securing your wealth is more important than ever. With inflation, market instability, and economic challenges, many Canadians are turning to one timeless strategy: precious metals. Gold and silver have historically retained their value, offering a hedge against economic turmoil and a safeguard for your assets. If you're looking to invest, there's good news for members of Action for Canada. We're proud to announce our partnership with Steve Merrill of Sun City Silver. Steve is not only a friend of the Freedom Movement, but he's also offering Action for Canada members exclusive access to some of the best pricing in Canada. Thanks to his extensive client base and affiliation with Silver Gold Bull, you can now secure your precious metals at incredible rates. Silver Gold Bull is a trusted Canadian leader with live pricing available 24/7 and nearly 400,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. When you purchase through Steve, you're not only investing in your future, you're also supporting the Freedom Movement, as a percentage of each sale helps support Action for Canada. Plus, there's a bonus. If you place an order of $5,000 or more, you'll receive a 1-ounce pure silver bullet, a unique and valuable addition to your collection. And if you refer someone who places a $5,000 order, you'll get another silver bullet as a thank you. To get started, visit actionforcanada.com/purchasing-precious-metals/. Remember, your decisions are your own, and we recommend doing your own research before making any investment. But with Steve Merrill's guidance and our partnership, you'll be on the right path to securing your future. Secure your assets. Protect your future. Support the movement. Visit us today to learn more.
We are going to be in every town and every city, and we are going to build communities within these communities of like-minded people who are actually going to care for one another again and love on each other and give each other the help when they're down. We are going to use the teams and the people that build within chapters to support our businesses. The government's actions are completely 100% unlawful. Judgment will again be found on justice, and those with virtuous hearts will pursue it. You have a virtuous heart if you are here today pursuing freedom and righteousness. And then verse 23 comes along with a promise. God says he will turn the sins of evil people back on them. He will destroy them for their sins. I take great comfort in that because I serve a mighty living God who has allowed us to go through this season of discomfort because we as a nation had turned our backs on him and we need to get right. So I am just going to thank you so much. I'm going to say God bless you and God bless Canada.